Hi, it's Angie Fabian here. I've asked Dr. Galhotra here today to talk about the vaccines that are available for the COVID-19. So I'm going to have him introduce himself, and then we'll start asking some of the questions that our staff, which is you, are wondering and have a lot of questions about. Okay, Dr. Galhotra?
Thank you for having me here to talk about the vaccines. I'm Simran Galhotra. I'm a pulmonologist, intensivist, and I also do sleep medicine. I think just about everybody in the audience knows that. So the COVID-19 vaccines, there are, I don't know, something like 2 or 3 dozen different vaccines that are being vetted and tested. The 3 that I'm aware of are all use a similar technology, which is messenger RNA. And the Pfizer one, the Moderna vaccine, which I believe we're going to be getting here, are of that, based on that technology. So,
what is the messenger RNA?
Yeah. Very good question. So, traditional vaccines that we've had, like influenza or MMR, they're basically the dead proteins, protein elements of the virus that are injected, and then the immune system makes a response to that. So the difference with messenger RNA technology, this is brand new. This has been studied for probably 2 decades, but only now is it coming to fruition. Messenger RNA is a transcript of the DNA from our cells, usually, and then our cellular machinery makes proteins from the messenger RNA. So what's cool about these vaccines is that it's just the messenger RNA, the code to make the protein for the spike protein of the coronavirus. It's nothing else. It's not dead proteins. It's just a little bit of mRNA, and it is assembled with some fat molecules on top of it. So it's in a nanoparticle with 1 molecular mRNA inside, and I think that's what leads to this misconception that there are nanobots in there or machines in there. That's not it. It's just nanoparticles, tiny particles. So that's injected, and then our cells actually take that mRNA and produce the spike protein of the coronavirus. And that protein is what our immune system then reacts to and creates an immune response. It creates antibodies, and it also creates memory cells, T memory cells, to fight the infection when we get infected with the coronavirus. So does it give you COVID? No. Getting the vaccine may cause a reaction. It will probably cause a reaction, an inflammatory reaction, but it's not going to give you COVID itself.
Okay, okay, good to know. And what does the mRNA do to our DNA?
Nothing.
Nothing? Okay.
Nothing.
Okay.
The mRNA simply comes into our cells. It's taken up by some of our cells, and they just our cellular machinery does what it normally does when it sees an mRNA sequence. It just creates the protein that it corresponds to and spits out that protein. That's all it does.
Okay.
It doesn't get incorporated into our DNA.
Okay. So there's multiple things out there about the risks and the benefits. Okay. What are some of the risks to getting the vaccine, either from, we'll just say sure, Pfizer or anybody?
Or Moderna,
or Moderna. And so what are the benefits?
So I know more about the Pfizer vaccine because I've read all the papers on it that have been submitted to the FDA for approval tomorrow, in fact. And the risks are, known risks are local injection site reactions like pain, swelling, and basically pain, swelling, redness. That's it. That's to be expected pretty much. There are systemic reactions like, and this is about 15% of patients will have this, systemic reactions like fever, malaise, nausea, vomiting, and one could confuse those with symptoms from COVID. But the difference, if you're thinking about this, is that with COVID, you're also going to have, when it gets serious, you're going to have pulmonary symptoms. You're going to have cough, shortness of breath. You shouldn't expect cough or shortness of breath as a reaction to the vaccine, to one of these vaccines. So those are the risks that we know of.
Okay.
Now, if you're asking what are the long-term risks, we don't know.
We don't know yet.
We have the clinical trials so far, the Pfizer one specifically, we have 2 months of data after the vaccination. And so we know what's happened in those 2 months, but that's it.
Okay.
The benefits. The benefit is that both of these vaccines are 95% effective, meaning 95% of the time you'll be, your chance of getting infected is only 5% of someone who's not vaccinated. That's huge. That's huge. There's only one vaccine that's even better than that, and that's the MMR, the measles one. It's 98% effective. All the other ones are much less than that. So to protect ourselves from an infection that could lead to serious injury and lung damage and systemic damage, I think it's worthwhile doing. In fact, I'm going to be first in line.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. I might have to get that on film.
No, you sure? Absolutely.
Number 5 question: is it one shot or a series of shots?
Oh,
and
yeah,
how
yeah.
far apart?
Excellent. I'm sorry. So for Pfizer, you get a shot on day 1, and then day 0, and then you get a shot on day 21. That's the way it's supposed to be, 3 weeks later.
Okay.
For Moderna, I think it's 4 weeks, but roughly between 3 to 4 weeks it's a 2-shot regimen. You do get some protection from just 1 shot, but it's highly recommended that 2 shots be given.
Okay. So since there's only 2 months pretty much of testing with other people, we don't know how long. Do we know how long you're immune for if you get the vaccine?
That's another excellent question. The answer is we don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's too soon to tell.
But the educated guess from infectious disease and immunologists is that you would need a booster maybe once a year at the earliest, at the most frequent, or maybe 3 to 5 years. Okay. So somewhere in that range, 1 to 5 years.
Okay. So it's not like the flu shot. We get a flu shot every year.
It's conceivable that it could be just like the flu shot in terms of annual vaccination.
Okay. Do you have to, for staff, this is a main a question also, do you have to quarantine for a time after you get the vaccination?
Absolutely not.
No?
Absolutely not. It's totally unnecessary.
Okay.
You may have, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, you may have some local reaction. You may even have 15% of people will have a systemic reaction, but you can take Tylenol, you can take ibuprofen, whatever's safe for you, and get over those mild symptoms. But no, quarantining is not necessary because it's not a live virus. It's not a live virus that you're being infected with.
We were hearing on calls that we've had with Navajo County Public Health and others that we should stagger staff getting vaccinated just in case there's reaction or things like that we should stagger them.
Reading the clinical trial data, I don't think that there's any scientific rationale for that, but as a public health measure, perhaps it's prudent to stagger it so that if there were adverse events that weren't detected by the way, the clinical trial for Pfizer was 44,000 patients.
Oh, wow.
People.
That was
44,000 people.
Okay.
22,000 in each arm control equal amounts in the ones who got salt water and the ones who got the actual mRNA. So
Okay.
that's a humongous trial.
Yeah.
So if any adverse signal wasn't picked up in in that trial, staggering, I guess, is okay, but I'm going to be first.
Okay. Absolutely. If like so the people tested 22,000 of them got
Got the mRNA, yep.
and the other 22 got
Just saline,
saline.
salt water.
and so it's 95% effective, which is
The
good.
ones who had saline
Uh-huh.
got, I don't know, something like 200 infections in that arm,
Okay.
and there were only about 10 in the other arm.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's how we know it's 95%.
Okay, good, good. So another question is, this was asked the day after I get the vaccination. What should I do if I feel like I'm getting symptoms of COVID?
Well, again, like I said, symptoms of COVID can overlap with symptoms of, adverse reaction, expected adverse reaction from the vaccination, such as fever, muscle aches, joint pains, nausea, and vomiting. But if to add COVID to that list, you would have to have, in my opinion, you would have to have pulmonary symptoms also.
Okay.
It is unlikely that you're going to develop COVID right after, the day after you get the vaccine. It's almost, probability is extremely low. A week later, perhaps. 2 weeks later, maybe. But I think
Not that
it's
day.
more likely to be a predicted adverse reaction from the vaccine itself.
Okay, good, good. And then, let's see here, what else do I have on my list? So, I'm going to ask the one question.
Please.
Are there microchips or nanobots in this vaccine?
There are nanoparticles. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay. No nanobots,
No
nanoparticles.
nanobots. We're about 50 years away from nanobots, so.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. Do you have anything that you want to add that maybe we didn't hit on?
Sure. I just add, what I'll add is that all of us in healthcare should get the vaccine.
Question number 5, did you ask that?
And, we're on the front lines. I'm in the intensive care unit every time I work clinically, and that's why I say I want to be first to be vaccinated. I think the trials that are being done, have been done, are very robust. There's excellent hard science going, in those trials, and I have a lot of faith in it. And I'm going to recommend that my wife get it too. So.
Good. Thank you. Thank you so much
Um,
for taking the time and speaking with our team here at Summit Healthcare about the vaccinations and how we can better our community, and be knowledgeable to answer some of their questions. So thank you.
Very happy to do it. We've done a great job, I think, taking care of our population. I just encourage everybody to tell their family members, their friends, to go ahead and get the vaccination, and at least for the next few months, be safe, wear your mask, because I don't want to take care of you in the ICU. I will if I have to, but I don't want to.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Galhotra.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Talk soon.